On Loose Lines, we are back at a regular time slot. Gentlemen, Daniel Hibberd, firstly, welcome, mate.
Hello, Paul. Good to be back another week. And, great to be back on the show.
On at the right time. And Toby McKinnon. Tobes, I got the feeling you and I are going to have to step up a little bit tonight. Daniel's just he's just a little bit sombre at the minute. We're not sure exactly what's going on, but he's just not quite on the top of his game.
We'll pep him up. Don't worry about that. There's normally a bit of pre-show banter, Paul, where there's probably the best 10 minutes we actually do, but most of it can't go to air, unfortunately. But he was a little bit green in the pre-race show, wasn't he? He was just a little bit wayward, running about on the track, having a bit of a look around at things. He wasn't happy with the screen and the sight board and the timing stuff. So let's hope he can pull himself together, and when now the gates have released, that he can race tractably throughout.
He was a little bit like a junior having his first drive. He needed someone just to adjust his gear and get everything set up for him quite right. He couldn't quite get everything where he needed it. You never know, Tobes. He just might need a good haircut. That might be something that might pep him up a bit.
Yeah, I dashed off and I had a haircut last week, Paul. And funny story actually, because the lady said she cut your hair in 1999, which would have been the last time you had your hair cut, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I don't know what a hairdresser looks like. I'm reasonably comfortable to say I have not visited. Actually, that's a lie. I can tell you that. I actually can tell you the last time it was in Perth for the Inter-Dominion, because I had no clippers over there and all the rest, and I was summoned to the hairdresser by one Karen Manning. So when she tells you to go, you go. So yeah, that was the last time. So needless to say, they did look at me a little bit strange when I walked in, I must say.
And you notice she neatened up the eyebrow. So first of all, she had to go with the scissors.
Like she's done any work there at all.
No, the scissors went blunt trying to cut them. So then she had a little go with the angle grinder, and she did a little bit, but then the angle grinder blade wore out. So then she gave up on it. Yeah.
While we're talking about that, mate, one of the regular pranksters in harness racing, he's actually sent in a little photo of us. I've superimposed it over the pair of yours, Tobes. You're going to be very upset when you see this photo. I tell you, he's got no respect for your hairdresser, that's for sure. Some of his better work, I must say. But it's good to see that some people actually watch our show and do listen to us, and all correspondence is greatly appreciated. So there's no problems there. Before we get on to the proper run sheet, I did actually have a conversation with Dave Miles the other day, and he tried to tell me that it wasn't him, Tobes. He reckons emphatically that it was all you.
Don't know what you're talking about, Paul. I never said it was David Miles anyway. I said DM from Monagita.
Okay.
And him and I know the truth, and that's all that really is needed, I suppose. Never
let the truth get in the way of a good story. That's for sure. That's the greatest thing. All right, back onto track, boys. Another double-headed Cup weekend. I think it was a very good weekend of racing. Shepparton and Hamilton Cups. I've been able to watch a little bit of the coverage of Hamilton today. But Daniel, we might start with yourself firstly, mate. We'll start at the top, I think, with the running of the Shepparton Cup, mate. It was a thrilling sort of race. I've got the video that'll just play for the last lap, but the race itself was possibly a little bit boring, I suppose, as so far as Lochinvar Art leading. But just the crowd and the way, I haven't got the audio going, but the way the crowd reacted afterwards, it made that little bit of a difference, and probably a highlight for the night, mate.
Yeah, it was a great atmosphere, and I mean, it's been sort of, essentially it's been about 10 or 11 months in the making for people in the Golden Valley and Shepparton to get back to the trots again, and to get a night like that where we had the local star going around. They were lined up against the stable yard there, the parade ring, watching him in the parade ring. They were 2 or 3 deep there. The Sundance gift deck, where we've done a lot of trots vision work over the last 6 months. We couldn't see the horses. There was 10 or 15, 20 people standing up there just trying to get a look at the horse. And when he got out in the track and raced, like the roar of the crowd and the cheers of the crowd you could actually hear them on Lockie's call, which is quite remarkable given how tall the commentator's box and how high up it is. But you could hear the crowd. Look, they were there was a great crowd there on Saturday night. Look, the club were absolutely wrapped. There was no issues or anything like that on course. And the race itself, yes, it was a bit disappointing that it panned out the way it did. I actually mentioned it on the radio that I had a suspicion that they would fall into single file and that they would probably race in racebook order for the first part of the race, which what happened. I mean, no one would really have wanted to have sat outside Lochinvar to the detriment of their own horse. And, probably how it played out in the last lap was probably about as good as it was going to get for those behind him. But he did the job superbly. He was just far too good. I did get to have a quick chat to David after the race and after the presentation. He was relieved more than anything. I think he was happy that the pressure was off him. I know he's obviously got bigger fish to fry with some big races coming up. But I think that one really meant a lot to him, the Shepparton Cup. I mean, he was terribly unlucky last year when he was buried alive and, was a terribly unlucky fifth, but he made up for it on Saturday night. And I think they enjoyed the night pretty hard. So it was good to see them win the race, and it was good to see a good crowd back at the trot.
I have seen some photos on social media. I'm not sure if people might have been caught out telling a little lie. I don't know if umpires tell lies when they coach football and the rest, but someone may have alluded to social media that it was 3 o'clock in the morning, yet the clock might have suggested it was about 1:45. But anyway, either way, they've still had a good night, which was good by all. I had one little worry just watching it. I was actually working last night and watching the replay this morning, knowing that he won. Just the way he shifted up the track, that last 50 metres, I didn't like that because he hasn't done that before. That's not his norm. And with that head-on shot, it was quite noticeable. I don't know what you guys thought, but I just worried a little bit about that, whether he just may have just needed the run. I'm not sure, but he was just moving up that little way. Tobes?
He's just dipping his hat to Lenny the Shark, because that's what Lenny the Shark would have done in the same circumstance. I think he was just recognising a past grade of our sport, Paul.
No, Lenny would have been in the crowd shaking everyone's hands and then come back down onto the track. He was the king of the wobble. There's no worries there at all.
It was noticeable him going up the track there. I don't think there's anything to worry about. Having spoken to Dave, I think he was pretty pleased with everything that had gone on in the run. And I think he's just looking forward to Ballarat next week and then the Hunter Cup after that. So, he was really happy that it was for him anyway, it was pretty much a glorified trial, really. But it just helped him tick over $1 million in prize money. But he'll certainly be rock hard fit for the Ballarat Cup this week.
Absolutely.
Well, you might have missed this, Paul, but David Moran said that Pat's Beach Storm is his favourite horse.
Wow.
Now, just think about that for a second. He has said that Pat's Beach Storm is his favourite horse, better than Lochinvar. He didn't say an ability, but his favourite horse, Pat's Beach Storm. What does that say about that horse? Fair dinkum.
Yeah. He might be just being brutally honest too. You're right. I understand what you're saying, but he might be just more so not necessarily its ability, just that it's a bit of a fun horse. I mean, Angela Britton.
Well, they had a lot of trouble there with him. With they potentially think it was a spider bite, and that they nearly lost the horse. So they spent a lot of time with him when he was on death's door essentially. So I think, when horses get like that and you get attached to them and you spend so much time trying to essentially save their life like they did, you do become very fond of them. I'm sure there's always a big spot in his heart for Lochinvar, but I think he probably knew that this guy, Pat Speedstorm, was a really nice horse, and I think it's probably more relief than anything that they've been able to get into the track. And the way he won at Shepparton on Saturday night, he is a serious racehorse.
I believe Paul will be heading on to the $100,000 3-year-old race later in the month, the VHRC Caduceus Classic or whatever it was called. And I believe Idyllic is being prepped for that race as well. So we might see a big clash between Idyllic and Pat's Beach Storm.
Good. That'll be good to see. There'll be some nice races. Is Majestic, I was going to call him Majestic Moth. Is he still around as well?
Major Moth.
Major Moth, yeah.
Not sure. Did speak to an owner of Idyllic today and said it was being set for it. Not sure about Major Moth.
Yep. We'll get to you and your owners in a second. The travelling Wilburys have horse will travel, and the great McLovin. They were on show again at Shep. Daniel and McLovin. He was just terrific again, wasn't he?
He was, and it probably didn't pan out as most people thought. I think a lot of people probably expected him just to amble to the front and it to be a bit of a procession from that point on. It was a tactically really interesting race to watch. Chiron was quite happy to kick through and keep McLovin out. And the stablemate to McLovin, whose name escapes me at the moment, picked up on the inside of Sundon's Courage just to keep it working a little bit longer. And essentially, in the end, it kept the spot that Sundon's Courage probably would have got, which would have been the 1-1. Had it landed in the 1-1, I think we might have been saying that Sundon's Courage had won the George Gaff because he was an enormous running defeat. So it was a great effort by McLovin to win because he, coming off the back straight, you sort of had thinking that he might have been struggling to get past Chiron. But Chiron just sort of knocked up in the last 50 metres, and the big horse just knew where the finish line was. Sundon's Courage was super running defeat, and those three sort of kicked clear from the rest. But he's now won that race 2 times now, 2 in a row, and sets himself up for a really big, great Southern Star. And his half-brother, Have Horse Will Travel, well, he just continues to go from strength to strength. If there was any doubt that he was any good, I think that's been put to bed in his last 2 runs. He was brilliant in the Cobram Cup. And last night he was just superb. I mean, he popped a bit of pressure from Aleppo Murphy, who really tested him, which we thought might happen given that Aleppo Murphy's sort of been fired up the last couple of runs. But as soon as the pressure from Aleppo Murphy was gone, the horse just relaxed brilliantly and came back underneath Tate, and it was just a walk in the park for it. So he's a really good horse, and he's still on a pretty tidy mark. But if they throw him in deep end, he's going to be really competitive in some big races.
A lot of the old breeders, they would say to you that, I can't actually think of the name of the mare, but if she throws a stamp, they'll all have that stamp, like all the horses will. You watch Have Horse Will Travel and McLovin, the way that they've both got the same action. They're both by completely different stallions. They don't trace back at all. There's no similarity, so it's all coming from the dam. They're such relaxed horses, and they seem to love trotting and love winning. So I think that's just that's an old school saying, but she'll be a producer. So yeah, she'll be one to keep an eye on going forward, I would imagine.
The other one out of the mare here, Paul, is Say Your Prez. P-R-E-S, yep. But I think Brent Lilly's got it, hasn't he?
Yep.
So it's the other one out of it. But McLovin, super talented horse, and I think knowing where the finish line at Shepparton puts it in another stratosphere because no horse or human knows where that line is.
You use that one last week.
They're still trying to find it.
Sundon's Courage was terrific. Got dropped off down the back when they really put that speed on. When Chiron put that speed on, he got dropped off. Tobes, the interesting one for mine is where's Shelley's little horse and you. We take a little bit of fun and all the rest out of it. And I sort of thought when she got dropped off, that's a little bit unusual. But her last 100 was actually quite sound, sort of looking for the next week or two. Like she got a little bit lost, got a bit hung up in traffic. But the last 100, she's another horse that knows where the line is. Back to a mare's grade race, she could be quite dangerous, I reckon.
Yeah, she's a pretty sort of consistent trotter, if you know what I mean. When she goes well, she does go well, but she's not quite up to a McLovin or that level. But if you can get her at $151 like she was in that Australian Trotters Championship, they're the times to back her. You don't back her at $7 or $8. She's not that sort of horse. But she'll probably go into the big Trotters race in a couple of weeks, is the Great Southern Star. Go around in that, and who knows what she could produce in the final, because she's just a bit of an enigma like that.
I don't know.
Great man, where's Shelley?
I don't know, Luce. There's a mare's race coming up. Marie does all the form and everything else like that for the horses. We're in a mare's race, and I think it's an open-ended one. She may be able to get into something like that, though, which might be more around her cup of tea, and she wouldn't surprise me again.
Certainly.
Her figure form doesn't look as good, but yeah, she's just that last 100. If you actually watch her, she really, really caught the eye there. And
I reckon, Paul, she doesn't like chasing either. And if she comes off 20 or 30 metres, it just doesn't seem to suit her when she has to chase early in a race or something. It's like she sort of half cracks them.
Over the years, there's been heaps of those horses, though. We've always said it, like there's some standing start horses that when they're off the front, they ping away. They ping away off 10 or 20, but don't make that ground up. They give up the chase very, very quickly. It's an interesting little thing, that. But, no, she's definitely not up to McLovin, but there's only about 2 or 3 that are. So, yeah, and you got to feel for poor old Sundon's courage, just chasing them around all the time. And he's a ripping horse. You'd love to own him.
There's 2 or 3 that are, and they might all be Andy Gaff horses.
Yeah, and we'll get on to Kate. We'll get on to Kate in a minute. We don't have her down as one of our notables, but I'm sure we'll all agree, so there's no hassles. Tobes, we'll start at the top, you think? We'll go with the Hunter. It's in a few weeks. The Hamilton Cup, mate, you want to go with that one first?
Yeah, the Pacing Cup.
The Pacing Cup. Sorry, it didn't actually play for me just then, but it was a terrific race.
A lap to go.
Very, very tactical race. Trying to get to the death at the right time in a way, wasn't it, with 4 big men?
Yeah, it was, Paul. There was a few sort of scenarios, I suppose, and the main scenario everyone saw was Kowalski Analysis would lead, which it did. Struve would get to the front, which it did, but Struve did do a little bit of work early, which was just probably enough that once he got to the front, he was always going to throw the anchor out, and Kate was the first one to go. It was always going to be either her or Chris Elford be the first one around, and once one went, there was no point another one going, so they wouldn't hand up. Once Kate got up outside Struve, really only left 3 possible chances, and they were those front 3. Struve got running at the 800-metre lap mark, like expected. They ran home in 54.9, and he just ran out of petrol tickets, and 4 big men took over at the top of the straight. Kowalski Analysis getting up for second, and the horse three back the markers. Gilby Lorenzo put in a good effort to get the third. So, yeah, he's pretty impressive, 4 big men, and his form's great. We're in second in the Bendigo Cup, second to Lochinvar Art in that size race a couple of weeks back. And where he goes to from here, no one really was sure on the day. Whether he goes to a Ballarat Cup or straight into a Hunter Cup, who knows?
Yeah, he is an interesting one, and it's an interesting race, as you said there before too, because you don't put Struve when you start talking Hunter Cups and those sort of things in that sort of category either. But at the same time, 2 runs ago when he was in the Sire Stakes final, the way he savaged the line when Chris couldn't get sort of through and he went through underneath him, and he was just an eye-catcher chasing home a horse like Lochinvar Art. He is an interesting horse, but he's probably that sort of horse that in a Hunter Cup, buried away, do no work, he can win it because he's got tactical nous, I suppose is the best way of putting it.
She seems to have had a lot of those horses lately, like Code Black, Phoenix Prince, and now 4 big men's, that same sort of horse. It's going to be a really good country cup horse.
Yep, absolutely. And a lovely horse of the future, hopefully, and not just country cups as well. Gilby Lorenzo, Tobes, he's capable of winning a cup. You got your Ararat Cups coming up midway through next month and the likes. Maybe something like that for him. I don't know what they've got earmarked, but he was a really eye-catching run as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, he's so low graded too,
yep.
Paul. Like, he's only in the 60s for his grading, so he may be heading back to Melton for some more sort of those mid-tier sort of races for him. But he did get a nice suck along the fence, and once they go a 54 half, you've got to be on the marker pegs, or it's just too hard, you know.
Yep, but he did keep running through the line, and he was really, really good. Trotters Cup, mate. It was an interesting race, especially. Once
Again,
1-1 got to the front, I thought, we're going to really run, and he did, but then backed off and brought the rest of them into the race.
3 back on the inside.
I don't know if he backed off. He ran even splits, 29.8, 30.5, 30.1 and home in 29.8. So he did get to the front and keep running, which is what everyone sort of thought would happen. Chris Elford ended up, Stress Factor was first up over 2,600 metres. We all know he was a boom 3-year-old. He was 3-year-old horse of the year when he won the Derby and the Breeders' Crown. Then he came out and won an Ararat Cup as a 4-year-old. It was all, how good's his Stress Factor going to be? Well, he hasn't really delivered since then until probably today. And first up over 2,600, he ended up 4 back the marker pegs. They started to split up a bit in the last lap. I think Marvellous Max might have choked down in the chair, which helped.
Can I just stop you there?
Helped him get out off the...
Stop you there for 1 sec, Tobe. Yeah. Sorry. No, I've stopped the video at that. So is that actually what happened to Marvellous Max? He actually choked down, do they think? Is it? Because it shuffled the whole field up and it really changed the demographic. I've actually paused the video and I'll start playing it back now right at that point, which was a crucial point in the race, wasn't it, when he did actually wobble off that track that little bit?
Yeah, he was first up as well, Paul, so he might have been a little bit fresh. I didn't speak to Alan Tormey afterwards, so I can't guarantee that he choked down, but he was over racing. He pulled hard. I was standing with Darby McGuigan at the time, who was working on Trots Vision with me, and he said straight away, "Oh, this horse is choked down. It dropped out, tired, vet's examination after the race, all those things. So hopefully it all's okay with Marvellous Max." But yeah, once he gets out, the stress factor, and Chris gets him to the outside. My main pick in the race was Travel Bugger. I think it's a highly horse that's going into much higher places than these, and he squirts through in between them and nearly gets the stress factor on the line. But you'd have to be very happy winning a 2,600 metre race first up with stress factor. And Chris Alpha was pretty confident after the race. He sounded like he was pretty confident the horse would give a great sight. And it was great to see John Wilkinson there on course, who's been an owner of many, many horses over many, many years, horses like Newsbreaker and Massini, and he's got stress factor and Sicario and many, many others. His son Adam's a great bloke as well. Great harness people, and he was there on course enjoying the win.
It was good. He is an X factor, and so's B Lily. We say about the trotters with Andy Gaff and all the rest, but a horse like Stress Factor, if he can get back to that Derby form, that 3-year-old form, like we were both at Ararat that night, Tobes, I think, and we were surprised, or we might have been doing Trots Vision at the time, we were surprised like a little bit after that he lost his way, and he just completely lost his way, didn't he, after that Ararat Cup win?
He might have sort of grown a bit or filled out a bit or something, Paul, and I think sometimes with the trotters, when they go through a bit of a change in their body, they just don't trot as good. You know, I was talking about TikTok a couple of weeks ago, went through a growth spurt and started trotting funny. You would know more about it than I would. And perhaps now he's really settled, he's matured in his body. He looks like a tank, you know. He looks so strong, like he just trot all day. So if he's back to his best, he's not far off that top line.
No, he's not. He's been able to beat him as a young horse, and who knows? It might take another year. Like, you wouldn't talk Great Southern Star with him this year, but maybe next year with a good solid prep, maybe, if he can recapture that form. Name escapes me, Tobes, but you'll help me out. The horse Neil McCallum drove, you said about Travel Bug was a good run, but it also was a very good run in the race. The Danny Boucher horse, I just can't. He's a bit like an Andu. He's hard to grab when he's right, but he was a nice enough run.
You know what you say? You know what you say when you can't think of a name and then you think of it suddenly, Paul? The penny drops.
That's it. I did know it too. But he was an eye catcher run. But he's one of those horses, he catches your eye, and all the rest. And then one day he'll win, a bit like you said with Andu, at 150 to 1 sometimes, and you say, how'd that happen? But he can do that.
I think it was the sort of race you'll look back on. There might be a bit of form come out of this race. I think Trouble Bug will win shortly. Scruffy Dawn was excellent. It'll win shortly. Father Christmas, as we know, always delivers once a year, so it'll have a win sooner or later. The Penny Drops will win a race soon, and Hanging on a Dream, it's low flying. Like, it's gone terrific. It was only beaten 13 metres, and it was making the pace. And Marmucker, of course, he's a horse on the way up as well, so it'll be a strong form race. Don't worry about that.
Father Christmas, the Bort Cup, I think, is at the end of February. He rails around Bort like a greyhound. He's been there 3 times and absolutely loves it. I don't think the TOB will have a long-range punt forecast on it, but yeah, if he stays down the grade he is, he'll get a nice handicap, and if he can get around in front, he's going to be a hard horse to get around there. Tobes, one other photo that you sent me, and I'll ask if there was anything else after that, but I love this photo. It's a photo of Jason Lee squatting down with what appears to be 5, hopefully, young harness racing fans. We can't get enough of this, can we?
I just, when I saw that, Paul, it was just so great to see crowds back there today. And, there wasn't a huge crowd at Hamilton today. The club didn't go full promotion on it, as you'd imagine, with COVID and not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow. But there was a good little crowd there, and there were some families with some kids running around. And Jason Lee drove a couple of winners, and he thinks himself as a bit of a rock star, which is a bit of a running joke with him. I interviewed him on Trots Vision, and because I'm such good friends with him, we had a bit of fun and a bit of banter. And then when those kids came up and they asked to get an autograph with him, and he was straight down, he's talking to them, and he's telling them to get McDonald's on the way home, talking mum and daddy, and they're buying you McDonald's on the way home, and all these things, It was just terrific, and that's what makes our sport. And I go back, when I was a little kid, there was a young bloke driving at Shepparton one night. His name was John Cowdo. He drove maybe 4 winners on the night, and he got a hat every time. He come off the track one time, and he turned to me and he gave me that hat. It was a John Deere hat. I still remember it like it was yesterday. I would have been 6 or 7. It would have been mid-80s. Johnny was just a young bloke, like only would have been 20 or something. But that was a special moment for me, you know, and I feel that was a similar thing that happened today with those 5 kids.
Yep, absolutely. One of my greatest memories is sitting down nervous as there's no tomorrow, my first drive at Moonee Valley, and the late, great Vin Knight just come over and sat next to me, and, yeah, I'd never done any work for him or nothing like that. He'd known me to probably that I was driving there, and could not remember one thing he said to me, because I reckon I was more like, wow, this guy's talking to me. So, it was just, they're the things that you remember for the rest of your life. So it's a little bit, I'll be a bit self-indulgent. Holly and Son of a Trump the other night, it's one of the greatest things that's ever happened because, she loves the trots, and some of her girlfriends are now keen to get to the trots too. So hopefully we can get them to the trots as well off the back of that. So, but that's
And in their interview, they gave you a couple of clips too, which I was liking very much.
Yeah, so I will actually try and get that up on my social media feeds. I have recorded it, so I will try and get it up at some stage. I'm sure you did win it. Little bit of correspondence has come through to Tobes. We encourage people to get the correspondence out there for us. I've just got to be able to find it. There it is there. This request, Tobes, was whether you may or may not have been separated at birth. And, I nearly had the wrong picture, actually, there. It's a great photo. You probably don't do it justice with your new haircut, but you can't see this one. So do you have a long-lost brother at all, Tobes? Do you know?
I'd have to talk to my mum, Paul, because I was there at the birth, believe it or not, but no, I don't remember much of it. So I'm not sure I came out dragging someone with me or not.
I'm not sure if you know Dave Eustace from Kirramar and the Dave Eustace stable clan, but it is a cracking photo. Don't you worry about that.
I do know him. He's got me on curl.
And I will say, very well done by Anne Anonymous. So that's all very good. I will keep all names secret. And just in case anyone missed last week's show and didn't get to see this cracking lookalike, I've still got it there on file for you as well, Tobes. I'll just throw it up one more time so there's no hassles there at all.
I got no issue with it, Paul, and I reckon 25 people have commented on it to me how good it is. And I've been showing people on my phone, and everyone laughs at it. You've done very well there. I will give it to you.
That one wasn't me. You got a fair idea who that one was, but the other one was. And
how come Hibberd escapes all this?
Well, that's where I was going. It's exactly where I was about to go. This show is about fun. As long as it's clean, long as it's tidy, everything else like that, more than happy to have fun. And it doesn't have to be us three either. Don't worry about DM from Monagiti. Anyone's got anything out there for him, by all means, go your hardest. We appreciate correspondence and a little bit of banter and a little bit of backwards and forwards. That's what this show is about, to promote harness racing, to promote ourselves, maybe get a job one day. Anyone wants to sponsor us, by all means, give us a yell. There's no hassles there at all. We'll do anything going from there. Rightio. Toby. We are too. Luckily, I did that. I was about to go the other way. I would have been in trouble. Bit of fun. We like having a little bit of fun on this show. So we generally do notables, but we're going to actually do... So Toby has come up with, and I am going to put just a little cover note out there for everyone to be aware of. This is Toby's football team, not mine. So if you're not on the team, don't say, why didn't I get a game? Don't want to know. Okay, it's all good. I'm going to throw the challenge back to Daniel Hibberd, being the cricketer, that he's going to come up with a cricket team for us by next week. So Tobes has set the bar pretty high here already, I must say. So there's a fair team. I'll actually throw the team up for you, Tobes, over the top of us now, but no one needs to see our mugs all the time. So you can actually run through your back line, or however you want to do it, Tobes. It's your stage.
Okay, thanks, Paul. So basically, I looked at Footy Team of the Year. I've put people in positions, and we've got a best and fairest set as well, which we'll go to in a minute. So starting from the back line, Andy Gaff, he's just a back pocket player. Chris Sinosio, he's got a bit of Dustin Fletcher about him, skinny and tall, and he'd get the punch in. David Miles, who's sort of, I'd say he's a bit like a Kevin Sheedy, sort of play in the back pocket, a bit of a plumbing trade, and not frightened to snipe someone. I mean, not frightened to have a go when needed. Halfbacks, David Aiken, the old nuggety halfback flanker that's been there, done that, you know. Michael Bellman at centre halfback, just big, tall, strong, independent, Paul, reliable. That's Mickey Bellman. Josh Aiken on the other back flank, the son of the other back flanker, you know, the two Aikens on either side. Dad's taught him how to play. Across the centre line, David Moran, flashy and brilliant on the wing. Chris Elford, right in the centre. Everything revolves around Chris. We all know that. So, and he loves it, Chris. And James Herbertson on the other wing. He'd be running up and down the ground, up to Mildura one day and back down to Melbourne the next. So Herbie's up and down all over the place. Half forward line, Alex Ashwood. Mercurial, brilliant. He'd probably only get 5 kicks and kick 4 goals. He's that sort of bloke, Alex Ashwood. Michael Stanley at centre-half forward, sort of, get out of me way, just kick it to me. Just kick it to me. I'm Michael Stanley. I'll take the marks. Bit of a Wayne Carey style for Michael Stanley. Kate Hargraves on the other forward flank. I reckon she'd be a good, defensive pressure sort of player, working hard. The full forward line, Kate Gaff in a pocket. A bit more of a mercurial sort of Stephen Milne type, just, really getting those couple of hard goals, but brilliant and freakish goals. Brent Lilly at full forward. Plonk in the square, get out of me way if I'm leading out. And Jason Lee in the other forward pocket. Connor Clark in the other forward pocket. First-year player, come up from the under-18s and had a great start to the year. Then the rucks, Karen Manning in the ruck. Everyone looks up to Karen and admires her. It's pretty hard to find a ruckman amongst the harness participants. There wasn't too many tall people. Greg Sugars, a ruck rover, ever consistent, ever reliable, and Jason Lee, the first rover. On the bench, Clayton Tonkin comes off the bench whenever you want, just trains winners. Pies Kelly on the bench when Brent Lilly's away or anything like that. If Brent Lilly can't stand in the square at full forward, Pies Kelly out to full forward, son. And Kimmer Frenning, she drove a few last year. She trains a few. She comes off the bench and she does a bit of media. So I've put Kimmer Frenning on the bench. The coach, Dale Brown, of course, CEO of HRV. Assistant coach, Rob Orber. He seems to sort of be in everything. Robbie Orber, assistant coach. He's got the ear of Dale Brown. I've got the runner, Steve Warren. When Robbie Orber's doing Trots Vision, he's got Steve Warren running out, getting people for interviews and stuff like that. The trainer, Paul Campbell. You've got on there, Paul, as the trainer. You're the man that looks after everyone in between the races and the race meetings. You're always there looking after people, talking to them, giving them a bit of a massage. Are you all right? You okay? You going great? That's you as the trainer. And the club larrikin, the bloke that stands up on the hill, yells out all the funny one-liners. It doesn't matter. You could have heard him 100 times or once. And that's Brett Shipway, is the club larrikin, the great man Shippy. I don't know if you're friends with him on Facebook, but if you're not, do yourself a favour, get on friends with him on Facebook. Now, the awards. You got the awards there ready, Mr. Campbell? You're going quiet. We can't hear you.
There you can. Yeah, I'll just get this up right now. I've just got a little bit of a glitch with my feed. Hopefully I'll get that. But here's your awards. They're up and going right now, mate.
So best and fairest, I think, Kate Gaff. She played brilliantly at home for Andy, played brilliantly away for Emma Stewart, driving winners for both Metropolitan Premiership, and she wins the best and fairest for the year for the Harness Footy Club 2020 Awards. Runner-up, Emma Stewart. Don't have to say too much. She's so brilliant, Emma. She would only just been picked by Kate, I reckon. Most consistent, Greg Sugars. I don't think anyone can argue with that. Normally most consistent, the Footy Club goes to the third best and fairest. Most improved, I've gone Ashwood Hargraves. They've had a massive year, really, Paul. They've come from almost nowhere. Best clubman, Tom Byrne. The best clubman at the Footy Club's someone you don't normally know that does a lot behind the scenes. And Tom Byrne, he's the tracks man for HRV. He gets around all the clubs. He was at Hamilton today. He works at Warragul. You'll see him at Bendigo. You'll see him at Melton. You see him everywhere. So the best clubman, Tom Byrne. Best finals player, David Moran. Stepped up, won the Vic Cup, won the Sires final, won with the Breeders' Crown with ladies in red. When it come to the big games, David Moran was there, polling votes, Paul. And best first-year player, Connor Clark.
Very, very good, Tobes. You're happy?
Very good, very good.
He's very, very happy with his team and the way that it's all come about. Took you a little while
to get through them all.
Yeah, and to compile your team, don't worry about that. And I'm reasonably confident that Dave Miles, he'll like your little barb you had with Chris Finozio too, because Dave was very nervous at the BDO Cup meet, and Jason Bonington said that he can fire up a bit, and Dave was very nervous about that as well. For some reason, my camera's gone blurry, and I can't work out what it is, but we will soldier on. There will not be a problem there. I'll just keep going, and we won't lose too much sleep over that. So, Daniel, you're up for the challenge with the cricket team?
Yes, we'll try and find an 11 and a 12th man or woman, and see if we can find a side that will win a good 2020 match somewhere. So it's a hard task following on from that football side. I think they'd win the premiership pretty comfortably against any other state for sure. Anyone
wants to contribute, football or cricket? We'll keep the cricket to 2020. I don't mind that scenario. Like, we want fast and quick and all the rest, short and fast. We get enough entries, I might be able to find a prize. I'll talk to the guys at Barristock or Woodlands or someone like that, and we might be able to work out a prize and go from there. You reckon this isn't annoying me, this camera shot? I could tell you that. Notables. We will start off on our notables, boys. It's a bit of a quiet week. We're not going to try and oversaturate it, I suppose, is the best way to put it. That's the idea of the show going forward. We're going to keep them to what we want. They're not always going to be the biggest and the best or anything like that. But again, through correspondence, if someone knows that Toby McKinnon's done something, flick us a message and we'll make sure we make everyone else aware of it. We would love to promote it that way. So just put a message at the bottom of this show or any show, and we'll get it on the next week's show. There's no problems there at all. Tobes, you're kicking the ball off, first ball after your football team of the century, with young Aaron Dunn, mate. One drive at Mildura. How does this make the notables?
Yeah, well, one drive at Mildura, Paul, but there's a bit more to it than that. He was going to have a couple of his own horses in, and for whatever reason, they ended up not being in. Previous to him working out they weren't going to race, Malcolm Retallick had rung him and asked if he'd drive a horse for him. It's wrong to be excited. And Aaron said no worries, of course, because he thought he was going to be there with a couple of his own. Once his own weren't there, he was still down to drive. And I said to him, one drive at Mildura, are you sure you're going to go? He said, yeah, I'm a man of my word. I told him I'd drive the horse, so I will be there to drive that horse, whether it's one drive, two drives or 10 drives. So he went all the way to Mildura for one drive, and the horse duly saluted, which is not what this is about so much. It's just about how Aaron said he was going to drive that horse at Mildura, so off he went to drive it. And, you know, Malcolm Retallick, we're not talking one of the big name stables or anything, are we, Paul? He's got 5 horses on his books. He's had 229 career wins and only had 4 in 4 last season. But that doesn't matter to Aaron. Aaron said he was going to go there to drive that horse, so he went there to drive that horse. So I thought that was notable.
Absolutely, and you talk about Johnny Caldo. Malcolm Retallick had a great horse years ago when I worked for him called Racy Rainbow. I think she definitely won 2 sires finals, maybe 3 sires finals back in the day. She was a ripping mare, and incidentally went to Vinnie Knight afterwards, so it's strange how things go around and round. Daniel, I'm going to throw to you with Ray Cross, and I'm actually going to duck out of the shot for a minute. Don't panic, I will be back. But one of the gentlemen of the sport, Ray Cross, and I love, before you go, how he and his wife generally have a picnic down on the grass or in the grandstand, wherever they are. They make a day of it, how harness racing was and how harness racing should be.
Yes, and had a double there at the other day, and the 2 trotters, Lima Calvert Rose and Who's Count, just race consistently. All of Ray's horses just seem to race consistently, week after week. Very rarely would they, out the back or anything like that. They're all trained to the minute most of the time. Ivor Calvert Rose was a double for Ray, and also Greg Sugars, who took the drive on both of them. Ivor Calvert Rose, it's only a 4th win from 99, but when you sort of think that, you think, oh, Jesus, that doesn't sound all that close. But she's had a lot of placings as well. Her last win was in March 2020, so it's been a little while between drinks. But she's only a low rater. She's only a 43 rater, so she's going to be able to race in those races for a long time to come, which is great. Keeps them in the sport for a bit longer before they go off. Who's Counting also led in 5.6. It's its fifth win from 51 starts. Another one that's only a 55 rater, so again, plenty of scope to race in that sort of grade for a while longer to get some more prize money, some more wins. So good to see them get a double. Really tireless workers, and it's good good when you get one winner, but it's even better when you get two.
Oh, absolutely. And they are a lovely couple when they get around. They take their time and always very, very polite and always very happy. I can't believe they've moved from Queensland to Victoria. They always shake my head at that. I'd say up there, if I got up there, I wouldn't be coming back, that's for sure. Tobes, another...
We'll buy you a ticket. We'll buy you a ticket then, Paul. No worries.
Thank you very much, Tobes. I feel loved beyond there's no tomorrow. Just for anyone wondering what happened to my camera, it looks like just a slight glitch with the internet service, that's what happens here. Tobes, another little random one. You're the king of the ones tonight. Monty Burnett, though. This is a good story, isn't it?
Yeah, and before I get to that, Paul, Racy Rainbow, 27 starts, 17 wins, and ran sixth in the 2-year-old size stakes for Johnny Cowdo. Did start with Malcolm Retallick, and Johnny trained it for a while, went back to Malcolm, and then Knights had it. 27 starts, 17 wins, so it must have been a pretty nice filly.
She used to run with her tongue out the side of her mouth. She was a very strange horse, but, enjoyed it.
Yeah, but the notable, Monique Burnett, and again, she trained and drove a winner at Maryborough, and on face value, Paul, it's not a big feat for Monty by any stretch of the imagination, but if we go back 3 months to the 23rd of October last year, she gave birth to Hudson Lee with her partner Josh Duggan, and 3 months later she trains and drives the winner at Maryborough, and it was only her 8th career win as a trainer. And I just thought it was quite notable that she got back into it so quickly and so successfully. And I believe all was going great with Hudson Lee. So for her and for Josh, so congratulations to them. And hopefully in many years to come, Paul, we'll see Hudson Lee Duggan in the winner's circle.
Absolutely, and I reckon Josh is reasonably happy she's back driving too, because I think he was feeling the pressure driving for Monty. Could have been divorce material the way it was going. I'm not sure about that. Another from Maryborough.
I think you got to get married before you get divorced, Paul, but just a technicality.
It's twice it's come up tonight in the conversation. We will leave it. Kari Males with a double, could have almost been a treble, Daniel Son.
Yes, Rockabella Stars and Summer Pants a running double at the back end of the day at Maryborough. Rockabella Stars 2 in a row now, but hadn't won before since July 2019, so it had been a while between drinks. Always had a fair bit of ability, but just sort of, form wasn't all that strong over the last 6 or 8 months, I guess, or 12 months. But 2 in a row now, going really nicely for Mick Bellman taking the drive. And then Summer Pants for Rodney Petroff in the cart that time, 2.6. Interesting, it's obviously come over from New Zealand. It's its third start in Australia, and it's its first placing. It hadn't even run a place in any of its previous races. Run a lot of 4th and 5th, and I think there was an 8th in there, but hadn't even got into the top 3, but was able to get that win on the board at Maryborough. So good work there for a good persistence, I guess, with the horse, and well done to Kari there on a double.
They do a really good job, Paul and Kari, because they've got 2 girls as well, and they pretty much train all the horses themselves. So they don't train a big team. They don't have a small team either. They're sort of there in the middle. They've got horses like Red Hot Tooths and the likes, and then they also have horses that probably have more duck eggs next to their name than the likes. They've got a good mix, and I think they do a great job, and always very happy and polite. And the other thing I like what they do, they share their drivers around. They're not scared to put different people on different horses. So, it goes that way as well. Tobes, ripping story, this one. Double at Melton for anyone is terrific. Joe Abella, he had a ripper night the other night, and somewhat unexpected, I would imagine, to get the double.
Yeah, Paul, alphabetically, he's probably our number 1 trainer, Joe Abella. Just let that sink in for a sec. A bloke, we know very little about him, and he got interviewed by Rob Orber afterwards for about 10 minutes, and I still know very little about him. He's obviously a real character. He had Jody Quinlan with him, and he was a bit excited and talking, and it was hard to understand what exactly he was saying at times. But Miss Chanel won at $4.70, Medina Bay at $41.40. So he's had a bit of a go at both of them. I'm not surprised. He's pretty excited. He's been in the sport forever. As far as records go back, he's been training horses 60 career wins. He's had 16 of those in the last couple of seasons. He's only got 4 horses on his books. They're all racing. The other 2, Medina Sky was in the other night, and Calmy Dan, I think, is in on Tuesday night. So he's got 4 horses in work. Robbie Orwell was asking, how old are you, Joe? And he wouldn't tell him how old he was, and he thought that was pretty funny. And then Robbie asked him something else, and he wouldn't tell him that. He thought that was pretty funny. So I'd love to have a meal with him one time, Paul. I think him and I would get on great.
He was playing his cards close to his chest, was he? That the second one that won the other trot, it was
Medina Bay.
Yeah, I thought it paid $100 and something, $41.40. I think one of the totes anyway, it paid $120 because someone pointed it out to me. They said, "How does it pay that in a 6-horse field?" And I was like, "Wow!" So the official price was $41. Maybe New South Wales, one of those. It was just one of those. I don't normally look at tote odds. It was just one of those things. Someone pointed it out to me. How does a horse pay that in a 6-horse field? And I'm like, yeah, good point. So, and it was unusual circumstances that he got his double, but I love that rule. It's so steadfast. You know what it is. It's a great rule. Everyone knew. They knew. Everyone knew exactly what was going to happen. So it's so easy.
And Paul, that's happened that rule has come into play 3 times this week when I've been judging. So at Charlton, it happened twice.
Yep.
Where they were back 5th and 6th. Yep. And it's just so simple because on one of the occasions, I can't remember who it was, ran 5th, and the steward said, we might have to look into this, and the driver said, don't worry about it, I know the rule, it's all fine, relegate me to 6, because it's so clear-cut. It is absolutely fantastic, that rule, and I don't think anyone disagrees with it. Not even Lee Graham would disagree with it. He had a big day, Lee Graham, getting the winner at Maryborough, and then that one, he did win the race, but then he lost the race. So,
yeah, and I suppose that's one of the things. But it's not chocolate spoiled lollies losing it in the steward's room, and you say, why are they picking on me? It's steadfast, and they know. Daniel, Toby's give you the lead in, but Lisa Miles had a huge day on Friday, and we should really say Geordie Chibnall, who actually works for her as well. So well done to George, but I'll leave it with you, Daniel.
Yeah, won the first race at Maryborough and then won the first race at Melton. So it was that's a big day in anyone's life, spending those many hours on the road. What a Glimpse won the first. Geordie Chibnall took the drive there. 3.3 the mile race, not the strongest race in the world by any stretch, but it was good to see the horse get the win. And it's good that those sort of lower ranked horses are able to still race around for decent prize money. Well done to Geordie on the drive there to get the win. And then they travelled, probably went home, geared up again and floated up and headed to Melton with High Claire. And it was the favourite in the first race. And if you sort of look at I had a look at the steward's report before I actually watched the race. And it just sort of said gate speed, and then it was 5, which I assume would be 3 back to pegs at the bell. And it was 3 back to pegs at the bell, but then it was the 600 metre mark was 3 wide. And you sort of think, well, how the hell did that happen? But it actually was, when you watch the race, it was on. High Claire led from 7, if you can believe that, led from 7, took a trail at about the 1300, and then another horse came round from last and took the lead. So she was 3 back to pegs at the bell. The gaps opened up, got 3 wide, and down the back straight, and then took over at about the 350 and charged right. It was a hell of a win. It was a hell of a win for the horse. I don't think all the plans A, B, and C went out the window very quickly, and I think they were down to about plan Y by the end of it. But it got the cash. It was a great drive. It was a really smart, tactical drive in the end. When things didn't go right, made her own luck, and that was a great win. And it's a nice horse, going really nicely, and good to see it get the win. But have a look at the replay, and you'll see how races. You think most times the horses just find their positions pretty quickly, and races are just run pretty normally. They hold their positions till about the 400. Not this race. They were making plenty of moves, and it was very exciting.
I'm gonna throw to Tobes in a sec because you've given a great segue with the Melton part and all the rest. But there's a ripping photo on Facebook if you follow Lisa Miles or Leah Harvey. I don't know, a lot of people may not know Leah Harvey from South Australia, but she's got into this strong women thing, Tobes, heavy lifting stuff and all the rest. And Lisa spent the day Saturday actually with her. No, it's terrific, and I take my hat off to Leah. I haven't been able to see her since COVID came on. I want to really catch up with her. I'd love to sit down and ask her the behind the scenes, because she's quite a successful trainer in her own right in South Australia and a good driver, and now she's taken on this strong woman thing. And I get to see a bit of the stuff, but I saw Lisa was there spending the day with her on the Saturday, which was really, really good, I thought. So something different as well. Tobes, we'll go straight to the topic, because I like your topic, and it comes back off the fact of Lisa Miles doing the double, Maryborough to Melton, but it probably just loses a little bit of credibility, I think. And I think I agree with you on this one.
So I think basically I'd like to see the Metropolitan meetings at Melbourne be called Tabcorp Park Melbourne, and then the country front meetings at Melton be called Tabcorp Park Melton. And what concerns me a little bit is people go to the pub, they pull out, they look at the trots fields, and they see Melton, and they think, well, that's the home of harness racing. These will be the best horses we've got. And then race 2 the other night, it was like a 3-year-old trot, and there was 5 or 6 in it, and a couple of them were only inexperienced trotters. And if people stand in the pub thinking, are they the best horses they've got in harness racing, that's a bit of a concern. But if we can just identify Tabcorp Park Melbourne, the Metropolitan meetings, to be different to Tabcorp Park Melton, I think over time people will get used to that fact and not look up and think, geez, they're pretty ordinary races they have in harness racing if that's the best they've got.
Yeah, I agree with you. And where it even gets more confusing is off the back of Son of a Trump. He won at a Melton meeting on a Friday night, but it was actually a $10,000 race, which you can get those on the Metro nights. So it's one of those. So you don't understand what I'm saying. You actually can say, well, it was only a country meeting, but it's one of those races that could have been on either night. And actually on that same night as he was on, there was a Group 3 night, but there was also races like the Highclere races on the same night. So it just gets a little bit all over the shop. And it's only really this time of year when the country cups are on, and especially like your Bendigo Shepparton, your Ballarat country cups are on, makes it a little bit tricky for trying to fit everything in. But I agree with you, Tobes. I think it's something they need to just tinker with.
And like the other night, there's only 7 races and 5-horse fields, which,
yep.
I mean, you got to expect that when Geelong was only a couple of nights before, right? So when you got Geelong and Melton in the same week with the same class of races, one of them's always going to struggle because they're half an hour apart. So just having that difference to get it away from being our Melbourne or our Metro meeting, just so people just know straight away that it's Melton, I think it's a no-brainer. But, yeah, anyway.
It's all good. Daniel, did you have anything, or are you happy with the way we've handled that one?
Yeah, it does need to be sort of looked at. I mean, we want to try and promote the racing at Melton as the cream, and I know that we've got a race. There's race meetings there with the lesser prize money, but we need to differentiate between the two, and this is a good method to do it. It's just people need to know the better races compared to the normal country front, and participants and trainers and owners and that sort of thing will know it, but the punters probably who make drive turnover probably don't pay as much attention, and we need to make sure that they're aware of what they are betting on, and we want the betting on the good races, but we also want the betting on the lower class ones as well. So to differentiate it a bit would be certainly a good idea. Absolutely.
Daniel, we threw back to the predictions last week. Tobes came up with, I think you called them, they weren't unrealistic, they were more fairy tale predictions, I think, Tobes. Outrageous was a word.
Outrageous.
Yeah, but I think fairy tale. But Lockie Cook for 50 winners for the season. Taylor Swift, I was about to say. Taylor French for 150, and I forgot the other one. There was 3.
TikTok to win the Derby and Oaks double.
Yep, that's very...
Mickey Bellman's trained trotter.
Yes, by used to me. I love you, one of the two. But anyway, that's okay. So, Daniel, what have you come up with?
Well, I sort of didn't go too extreme as Toby sort of went, but I've just sort of played it a little bit more conservative. I'm going for first one I'm going for is I reckon Kate Gaff will go back to back in the Metropolitan Premiership. That's the first one. I think she's going to have another ripping year on the Metropolitan track, particularly with the trotters with Andy. I think there's plenty of scope for more winners there. and I think she's obviously got that great relationship with Team Stuart Tonkin, and I think there'll be a lot of more winners there. So I'm banking on her to win the Metropolitan Premiership. And my other one, I'm going with Ryan Duffy, who I think had about 90-odd winners, I think, last season. I think he will get a few more. I'm saying around about at least 120 winners for the season.
He's got some good backing from some other stables too, so he is doing a nice job. I have got two. I've got something else I want to say afterwards. Mine are going to be stepping out. I'm going to call them stepping out, Tobes. I'm not going to put a figure on it. But young Jordan Leadham, I think he's going to stop being just purely a man that goes to Mildura. He's going to be going to a lot of the country circuits and driving a lot of winners. Presents himself beautifully, talks lovely, and drives nice. Doesn't seem to cause a lot of action or, for a young man learning his craft. And I think he's doing a really, really good job in it. And I think a lot of people are going to start utilising his claim going on this year. He's little, he's light, he fits that new demographic that people say. And he's got a bit of race smarts about him, I think, in that sense. The other one is a guy that is proven, but I think he's really going to have a standout year this year, is Jackie Law. I love the way Jack Law's driving, and I love the way that he's picking horses up, carrying them, does the lean, things that I don't like, but he does it, and trainers like it. And I think it's the way he's going, it's going to be good to watch him coming through in that sense. And then the third one, and why I didn't sort of allude too much on yours, Daniel, what's the chances of Kate Gaff winning the country premiership as well as the Metro premiership? Don't think
no. She seems... Oh, yeah. Go.
Yeah, no, I don't think she'd win the country premiership, Paul. Last year, was it Chris Alford 382, Greg Sugars 319, Kate Gaff 201. If I was going for any roughie to win the country premiership, I'd say James Herbertson, who's already in front. So he'd be mine, because I think he's very hungry. And I think you two guys have gone right out on a limb with Ryan Duffy. Got 94 winners last year, going up to 100, and Jackie Law with 89 winners last year.
120, come on.
Hang on. And
120, sorry.
And also,
Jackie Law, 89 winners last year, Paul. I don't know where you plucked him from. Amazing.
But I'm talking... it doesn't matter. I'm not even going to argue with you. But I reckon you just turned around and you had a go at me for not going out on a limb. I've turned around and said, Kate, you say no to that. So if I go out on a limb, you're going to say no to it. But if I play it safe, then you're going to have a crack at me. You can't have your cake and eat it, Mr. McKinnon.
James Herbertson's 14 wins, Michael Bellman 10, Greg Sugars, Chris Alford 9, Kate Gaff 7, and then that'll roll through today. She'll go up to 8, so she'll close in 1 on James. But happy to have a side wager with you, Paul. James Herbertson, Kate Gaff Country Premiership. We'll have a side bet.
Kate didn't win 2 races today?
Nope. Oh yeah, she did win 2. Sorry, yeah, she did.
I would hate to have been the on-course MC. I just thought I might have forgotten something there. You forgot who you interviewed, Topes.
Yeah, I interviewed everyone all day, Paul. It didn't stop for 6 hours, so...
Do you know, Daniel, today I heard about lions, giraffes. I heard how great a man you are because you forgot to turn the microphone off a couple of times. You can hear some random things when the man's doing it. But Struve got chased by lions in the wild. I was like, we've got David Attenborough happening here on Trot's Vision today.
No, Paul. So what I was talking about there is horses are a prey animal. And when it's windy conditions, some horses, in particular stallions, their natural instinct is to be the alpha male and run and lead the pack away from the lion. So when there's really windy conditions, they're on high alert, they're listening to noises, and they get fired up on the inside of them because every time they hear a stick break, they think it's a lion chasing them. So what I was saying about Struve, a few starts back where he over-raced really bad, it was a really windy night, and I feel he was in flight mode, what's called flight mode. When a prey animal's in flight mode, they're working really hard. I know you might find it humorous, but if you do some research into it, you might find there's something to it.
I don't think the lions on that night in question you're talking about, I think it may have had to do with the fact that he was pushed a little bit wider when he was making his run that may have brought about the undoing of that run. He wasn't over racing until such time as he was forced a little bit wider on the track. Now, if there was lions on the inside of the track that may have made that happen, well, that's okay. I'll accept that, but it's all...
last week.
It's all fair and loving.
What about Darby McGuigan on Trot's Vision, Paul, with his line? I said, I'm not sure Jillaby Selwood can lead and cross, and he said, Jason Lee could get my grandmother out in a 27 quarter.
That was the other one I was going to bring up too. I was like, I didn't hear it live, but I heard you and Cody when you were doing your cup preview going through. One other one, and I have just got to find it here. This one annoys me, and I'm happy to show these people out. Where have I put it? Is the other night Taylor French drove our horse. Maybe I haven't downloaded it on my thing, and got a nasty text message straight after. It wasn't even a text message, messenger message, and I can't actually find it. I did actually take a screenshot of it, and I haven't put it up here. Frustrates me to no extent, and I'm not going to give this Oxygen Thief any time of day. I just want to put his name out there, and I know it's not really his name. I'm just trying to find it now on my phone while I banter along. But this guy may have a girlfriend. I doubt it, very much doubt it, because of the stuff that he wrote to Taylor. But he has got a mother, unfortunately, and I think he should be disgusted. Anthony Craig is this guy's name. He has no friends on Facebook, so I know it's a bodgy account. He blocked Taylor straight away, so she can't retaliate and everything else back. Society has changed, and these Muppets need to be shut down. So, Anthony Craig, mate, thank you very much. That's it. That's the last lot of airplay you'll be getting on this show, but I'm happy to point these guys out and all the rest, and lift your game, mate. You got no chance. That's it for me, boys.
Unfortunately, Paul, all the drivers seem to get it.
Yep.
A number of them have spoken to me about it. They've just got to ignore it. You know, I used to play footy and people lean over the fence and have a go at me and say things as well. And, you know, it's just the way it is. You just got to ignore it and try and move on. And social media is a bit different because it's sort of there and it's in your face. But you just got to delete them and block them. And if it's too much, they've just got to get off social media, which is really hard because on the other side of it, they've got to try and promote themselves as well. So, you know, it is an unfortunate part of the game.
Don't take me the wrong way, Tobes. Taylor wasn't upset about it. She's just like, and trust me, the things that he wrote, this guy doesn't deserve to be able to talk to anyone. It's got nothing to do with a bit of banter you might have copped over the fence. It is disgusting. That's where it stops. And I have no time for it. And times have changed because the Indian cricket team were going to walk off the other day because of people calling them, and rightfully so, they were called a word starting with G, and they were going to walk off. So times have changed. I accept, Tobes, that back in the day we copped it. Geez, some of the things Roger Dalton used to say to me over the fence when I'd get beat on an odds-on favourite, mate. But, you know, we'd finish the day and he'd drive me to the next trot meeting. So it was part and parcel back then, but not now. Society's different, so, yeah. Sorry, Daniel?
It's just I was just going to say, it's a sort of behaviour that, unfortunately, in all sort of walks of life, it doesn't matter what sort of field you're in, if there's ability to get in contact with you in terms of social media, and you're in the public eye, whether it is as a driver or a trainer or in any other field for that matter, you cop ridicule, and these days, unfortunately, that ridicule gets to the point where it's derogatory, and it's not it's essentially it's beyond reproach. It's not even acceptable to speak to someone like that. You wouldn't do it to their face, but a lot of people are happy to do it as a keyboard warrior, and at times it's beyond the joke, and it is disappointing. And you're right, you get those dodgy accounts where they're only up for 2 seconds and then they're deleted. It makes it just about impossible to sort of track them down and things like that. So look, we just got to deal with it. Just ignore it. But if someone's stupid enough to leave a correct name and details like that, well, then they should be prosecuted possibly. But certainly in a harness racing industry, books should be thrown at them.
Yep. I just have no time for it, so I'm happy to out them. And as I said, there's certain things you can say and you should be able to put up with it. I have no worries with that. I've been called plenty of things. I will be called plenty of things. As soon as I hang up off this show, Toby's going to call me 100 things. There's no worries there at all. But there are certain things you should never, ever go near. Tobes, we're going to go with the Woodlands winner. I think this week, and this one made a fair bit of social media, I suppose, notoriety, is that the right word? No, but a lot of chatter about him in a horse called Magnificent Storm. I didn't give him a capital S, unfortunately, for my spell check, but lovely, lovely horse, Tobes, and I've got the video here to show of him, but a horse with a bit of a future, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, Paul, winning 11 on the bounce, and Shannon Nixon of Nixon Bloodstock fame, who knows a fair bit about breeding, Paul, and very much more respected when talking about breeding than what I am. And I just thought I'd read out the tweet that Shannon said, because I think it sums it up really well. He said, "I can't recall a stallion who is literally getting better with age the way that American Ideal is. Perhaps the back end of Fake Left's siren career was similar, but it's truly remarkable to compare American Ideal progeny from his first 5 years at stud to his second 5. And I don't think we need to add too much more to that. I think Shannon summed it up brilliantly. Shannon's not getting paid to say that. He's put that out on Twitter. He's seen it. He knows it. And great to get some feedback like that for Woodland Stud, Paul.
Absolutely. And he is spot on with American Ideal. I've got some video footage that I've got to compile some of the stuff I did the other day. But I tell you what, he looks like a 2-year-old the way he carries on in the paddock sometimes. I spoke to Mark Hughes about that horse, and the bloodlines on the dam side are blue blood as well. And it's not, they didn't breed, they obviously did with the American Ideal component, but they don't own that family. But that is New Zealand royalty, that whole maternal side. And he said it'll just keep getting better and better. So he's a horse to follow, I would say. Magnificent Storm.
Yeah, so that was American Ideal, you said, plays up like a 2-year-old in the paddock, not Shannon Nixon, just to be sure.
I might sit down with Shannon one day. We'll see how much I don't think he'd be able to run at all. He was complaining the kids were playing too much cricket the other day on social media or something like that as well. So I don't mind giving him a drive-by. And I've also, don't tell me I didn't save it. I've got it here. Oh, yes, there it is. Daniel, where is that? Right there. That's okay. I just had to find it. Last week's winner, mate. I'm allowed to chip you because you might have forgot one this week. I'm not going to chip you too much.
Yeah,
he did over race, but I'm happy to just take the P1 a little bit on this one. We were a little bit late going up last week for the show. It was done on a Monday night. Marie comes home, Tobes. You'll love this. So Marie's sister-in-law is Jeff Irwin's daughter. A lot of people out there will know who Jeff is. He was a penciler back in the day for John Hallam, as well as a lot of other people. Ricky Killian in the day at Bendigo as well. He was known for a lot of stuff. He passed away just very recently, but he was also a half owner. He was one of the shareholders in Aleppo Murphy. And Marie comes home and she says to me, they're really confident. This horse is if Dave Aiken, just don't tell anyone. They're really confident they're going to have a punt. And I said, it might be in some trouble, and we'd gone, by the time she'd got home, we were posted, so I showed her the section. So you can escape some good things at all the rest. So, yeah, so I just thought I'd throw that one up. There was no trials this week at Shep, so I thought I'd throw that one up and just make light and make sure that a few people out there that may not have known that Jeff has passed away also are aware of it. He was only a young man and passed away very suddenly, and I know it's sad for the rest of the family, but hopefully Akey can sort him out and have a bit of fun with that horse.
He was, they sort of obviously drove him in the race, I think, to really test how horse will travel, and it sort of probably backfired a little bit. Ryan was almost into the spot behind the leader. Probably don't know whether that might have suited him anyway, but they'll bounce back from that. He's going nice enough as it is at the moment from his 2 trials, so they'll find a race for him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think, Paul, this will come back to bite you on the backside. The horse will probably win next start and at 20-1, and you'll look like a fool, and that'll suit me just fine.
It's all fair and love and war on this show, I can tell you that. Couple of little things I want to say. The Bathurst Drive, you guys had a chance to see that on the Bathurst Facebook page. Matt Rue. Have you had a chance? You haven't had a chance, Toby? Get and watch it. I put it up on Campbell's comments and shared it to that. It's great, great insight. Great to see Bathurst doing some things. They do some good things, actually, Bathurst and the likes. And I just want to make some people aware. I'm going to find out what you guys are up to. But stay tuned to Campbell's comments this week because I've got some awareness of how the Nutrien catalogue's going to work as far as the digital platform goes. I've got some stuff coming up with Woodland Stud. We've also got Southern Bred, Southern Red, so they're coming on board with NZ Bloodstock. We've got to make sure some aware of their sales coming on. So there's plenty coming up with Campbell's comments going forward. I don't think I'm doing Trot's Vision anywhere, but I'm not sure what I'm actually up to for the rest of it. You boys, what have you got planned?
Well, I've got trials at Shep this week. Obviously, didn't have them last week. They were redressing the track before the Cup. But off to Cobram for a little bit on Friday, and then off to Albury to call on course there again on Friday night. So it'll be a big night there. Just before go to Toby, this is just hot off the press, and it's, I guess, another one of our notables. It's only just come through to me in the last 10 minutes on the phone. The Cobram Club's just received an email from Anthony Butt, who was just thanking the club on his efforts at Cobram winning the Pacing Cup. He was very grateful for the trophies and the prizes, the Graham Eels voucher and some other bits and pieces. He was really thankful. He wanted to thank all the sponsors. So that's really great to see that the support that that the clubs give is recognised by the drivers, and that's really good work by Anthony in making an email to us and letting us know that he's really grateful.
That's awesome. Absolutely sensational. I'm very happy with that, Ants. Well done, mate. That's really, really good. Tobes, how's your week going? SEN?
Yeah, not too bad. SEN on Wednesday, and then got a couple of days doing some stuff for the APG trotting sale, the APTS. So I'll be on the road with Stu McCormack, and we're going to go around and see each horse and take a photograph of it, Paul. And I've got to hold some device up that gets their attention and makes them look off into the distance. So I'll be the dummy man, I suppose, which is probably a pretty good role.
Why did you cut your eyebrows? You could have just stayed there and they'd be wondering what that is flapping in the wind.
I thought I'd have a crack at doing it, Paul, but after the scissors were blunt and we went through one blade of the angle grinder, I don't think we'll go back down that path.
Very, very good, mate. We've got to give Claire a big congratulations too with Dell's Destiny's win at Maryborough the other day as well, so it was a good little win. All right, boys. I reckon that'll do us as for another week. As I said, this will be released on time, Tobes. We'll be all good to go. So thank you very much, boys, for another week of On Loose Lines. We'll be back next week, hopefully, with a recap of the Ballarat Cup and depending on what else happens during the week.
Good night.